Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across the nation and around the world. I am your hostess with the mostest, Kelly Robertson, also known as Earthsong, and this is Beacon News. As promised, I am going to be sharing with you evidence that I believe proves that Neanderthal still exists and lives in the wild today and is known by many names that is not his true name. We call him Sasquatch, Yeti, Bigfoot, and many other names. But I believe them to be true humans. I've seen them myself face to face, as close as 2 feet away. They are human, and I am here to prove it. Let me entertain you with some interesting artifacts. Almost all nations of the world, you have myths and legends of giants, remarkably similar to humans. All the world's faiths and religions and cultures talk about them. There are no inhabited lands where neither would live according to the legends of giants. In the minds of people so deeply ingrained, the belief in them is so huge. Stones of Europe megaliths or South America and the pyramids of Egypt, called Cyclopean buildings. Even the official history confirms that once there lived on this earth giants who apparently were very similar to humans. Now I know many want to call them the fallen angels or the Nephilim, but let's not be too hasty. The mention of the giants found in literary and historic documents of different ages, numerous findings indicate that of a race of giants is not an invention of our mind, but yet that they actually lived on this planet and have significant influence over the course of our history. But what then to explain the existence of these legends and myths that have very different and distant peoples of the world, all telling the same type of tales? The fact that giants appear in all of these sources is not in any way related to each other of a mere coincidence or a lie. At the heart of the historical facts that have been handed down from generation to generation as a tradition, these people of great stature are a reality of a race of giants in our distant past and even in our modern day, all over our planet. And they show various finds within the record in ancient historical documents. Now, it is proved that the atmosphere of the earth, indeed in ancient times, contained more oxygen than we now have. And this was revealed in studies of air bubbles in the amber. So, due to this fact, was found that perhaps this was what gave way to the ability for giants to live and exist on our land, plants and animals as well. This fact gave reason to believe that human nature is also supposed to be the other air to this saturated, oxygenated atmosphere that provided the life of the race of the giants. Many of the legends of the giants exist in the Nordic and Germanic countries and in Tibet. There is a theory that long before the beginning of the new era in the world, they existed side by side, two people, men and giants, which were 3 times more than the average stature of a man. In addition to the myths of various peoples and the biblical accounts that referred to the giants, there's also the stories of Greek mythology, of Norse mythology, and the like. All of the legends of giants can form an overall picture and assure you that there was more than one type and size or height of giant. According to the legends, the giants had incredible strength and height, and it is through this power that the world has many monuments that are believed to have been built by the giants, such as the Tibetan city of gods or Stonehenge, the Egyptians' pyramids and Sphinx, Tiwanaku, and so forth. In Lebanon, in Belbakowski's terrace, on the 3 large blocks of 800 tons that were fitted together with amazing accuracy down to the millimeter, that even now in the most modern construction, our equipment cannot compete with. It is a daunting task to even attempt to recreate. So, in our taught history, these monumental sized buildings and structures would have taken 40,000 people or more to lift these heavy blocks and build them. And according to legend, giants also possessed a knowledge of manipulating gravity and levitating things to move them as well. Something, again, that modern science has yet to catch up with. For example, Atlantis, which opened a mystery of people and their astronomy and their knowledge of how to build great things, makes them seem immortal in the form of strong men, makes them seem like they must be extraterrestrial. And I'm not here to argue a point of them being terrestrial or not. I'm here to argue the point that I believe that the same peoples that built these massive stone structures still exist today and hide in our forests and our hills, our mountains, and our caves. The Bible even tells us that there were giants in those days and even after. So we know that they were minimized in their numbers. We know that they were reduced. Many people would liken the giants to Nephilim or being God's sons and daughters. And I argue the case that mankind is God's children. And that if anything, the giants were supposed to be our helpers or our assistants, and we were to work hand in hand together. Now, where that went awry, I'm not sure. But I am a bridge. I'm a fixer, and I want to mend the bridge and reconnect the communications with the people of old and the people of renown who still exist today and live in our forests and our caves and our mountains. People say if Bigfoot exists, where are the bones? Ladies and gentlemen, they're in the mounds or the Smithsonian or tucked away somewhere where you can't view them any further. But they do indeed exist. Their bones are real. Are they the 30-foot tall giants? Probably not. They're one of the other races of giants because there were many. And while I'm on this subject of giants being Nephilim, any of them, and that they mated with the daughters of man, I ask you to consider how preposterous that would actually be. Because if we're going to be real about it, their rod, if you will, would be so large if you're comparing it to a foot size, like we do with human men, that it would literally kill a human female. It would kill them. There's no way they impregnated us. 30-foot tall giants. Nephilim. Fallen angels. Do you know what that means, actually, Nephilim, if you translate it? It actually just means they came from the sky. Just like angel really means messenger. Angel never meant child of God. We are the children of God. Those really large giants came from somewhere else in the sky. And they did not mate the traditional way with human women, because it would be no different than a human man trying to mate with a chicken. It would kill them. Peacock! Dead. Just like that. And I literally grew up knowing a man they called chicken poker because he would kill chickens doing that. And if you look at that foot size and you estimate how big they would be, it would kill us, not impregnate us. So stop believing fairy tales, because Bigfoot being real is not the fairy tale. 30-foot giants mating with women and making babies, that's the fairy tale. I call bullshit. There are some human men that are too large for women that would cause them pain. Be realistic. Be mature. Use your brain that God gave you. This is not logic. Bigfoot that has the face of a man and the eyes of a human living in the woods, hiding, scared of us, even though they are way stronger than us. That's more realistic. That's a real human. That's a real giant. Goliath. Goliath was in the Bible as a giant, but he wasn't really that much taller than King David when he killed him. He was about 8 foot tall. That's how tall Bigfoot is. There are hairy men told about in history all over the place. It's there for you to see if you only have the eyes to view it. Those are the footprints of someone to the likes of Zeus, Kronos. And yeah, I believe they existed too. And for all we know, what we call Bigfoot is the offspring of them. Just because it's unknown or out of our grasp of understanding doesn't make it evil or demonic. It doesn't make it nefarious, and it doesn't make it scary unless you want it to be. And just look at this picture. I just want you to really look at that image for a minute. Did I back it up? There we go. Realistically, look at that picture. That picture is almost, that footprint is almost as tall as this man, who has to be every bit of 5.5 feet at least, right? He's not a shrimpy guy. Now, if we compare the size of a penis to foot size, realistically, do you not think that something that large would kill a woman who are petite, who are shorter than human men to begin with? Let's be real. Let's be logical. That is absolutely a lie to say that they're fallen angels and that they came here and mated with the women on earth. I'm calling bullshit because I don't see how it would physiologically be possible. Easy for me to say. And I totally got off script of what I wrote here, but that's fine because I really want you to think for yourself. And I really want you to get the dogma out of your head and get it straight what is fairy tale and what is fiction. Because we have evidence, ladies and gentlemen, all around us that they've always been here and that they still are to this day. Maybe not the ones of that foot size, but definitely giants are here with us today, and they are a race of human. Whether they're a little more hairy than us or not, I've looked into their eyes and I've peered upon their face close up. And the young being that stood before me was most definitely some faction of the human race. Not of ape, not of ape and man mixed. Man. I looked into the eyes of a very tall young man who lived in the woods, much like the stories of Mowgli, the Jungle Boy, or Tarzan that we're told of. He lives in the woods, and he has a 16-inch long foot and the face of a man, the eyes of a man. and the compassion in his soul that went with it, because he was certainly close enough to harm me. And he looked upon me with compassion.